Greetings, class. Mr. Munir here with your engineering lesson of the day. Now, if you haven't watched the other video on Edpuzzle, go ahead and watch that one now. That's a really great tutorial of all the different tools of SketchUp, filmed in a way that I didn't feel like I could do it much better myself. So that video is really important for you to watch first. That's kind of your warm-up video for the day. Once you've watched that, then come back to this video. But if you've already watched that, cool, hang out. I am going to lead you through what you need to do for today's daily activity. Okay, so what's our activity? Well, you guys already should have logged into SketchUp and gotten yourself started and sent me a screenshot, so that should already be done. So at this point, you already know how to get there. You just go to your topics and go log into SketchUp and link to SketchUp online. Now, if you don't want to go through that process every time, you could just bookmark this, app.sketchup.com, and you can go there directly without going to my CCA. But either way is fine with me. So it's loading, and once it's done loading, I get to this screen. I'm just going to go ahead and do Start Modeling. Okay. Now, I don't want this lady here because I'm not concerned about scale at this point. So, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete her, and what I'm going to walk you through right now is what I want you to do, and you eventually take a screenshot of it, or I'm sorry, you're going to save the file and you're going to submit the file to me on my CCA. So, with that being said, here we go. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is start with our solid. So if you'd like, you can watch this video all the way through, or you can just follow me step by step and pause along the way. I'm going to try to go slowly, but you can watch it over and over again, so I'm not going to repeat myself. So let's take a look. I'm just going to create an arbitrary shape. At this point, if you don't have a mouse, you should really get one. It makes it way easier to use SketchUp. Without a mouse, it's very challenging. So make your life easier, get a mouse. If I ever want to pan like this, I hold Shift and then the scroll wheel on my mouse. And if I want to change my angle, I just hold the scroll wheel on my mouse and move. So I'm set up here. And what I want to do first is create a rectangle. Now, you've already seen the tutorial, so I'm going to act like you already know the basics of how this stuff works. Again, if you need to rewatch that video, then go ahead. So if it feels like I'm going too fast for you, then you probably need to rewatch that tutorial video, or just watch this video a bunch. So what we're seeing now is that rectangle comes up, and I'm going to wait until it snaps to the origin. And then I'm going to create it, and then actually I've got to move myself so you can have a better perspective. So I'm going to snap this to the origin, and I'm going to create it, and then notice that down here the dimensions change. So I want to create a rectangle that's 6 foot, 8 foot. So that gave me a rectangle that's 6 feet by 8 feet in dimension. Okay, now yours may look different than mine. It's because I changed my view, but if I ever want to change my view, I just go here, and this is the original view that you start with. So I'm going to bring that back. And now what you're going to do now is, once you've created your 6 foot by 8 foot rectangle, you're going to extrude it. You're going to use that push-pull tool. So you're going to go to push-pull, click that tool, and now you click on that face, and you're going to be able to extrude it whatever height you want it to be. I'd like it to be, let's say, 2 feet high. So there you go. I've made it 2 feet high. Nice. So that's my first little shape here in SketchUp. Well, I don't want it to be that simple. That would be way too easy. So now let's do a little bit more. So I'm going to start with my line tool, and I'm going to hover over this line until it snaps to the boom, midpoint. It's going to say midpoint, and you'll see it show up in blue. I'm going to click, and remember, I don't click and drag, I just click and release, and I'm going to drag it. I'm going to go over here, hover over until it snaps to this midpoint. Cool. All right, now it's going to want me to draw another line, so I can just hit, but I don't want to do that, so I'm going to go ahead and do the push-pull tool now, and hover over this face. You'll see it get highlighted, and I'm going to drag it back to this edge until you see on edge, and bam, cool. So it cut that all the way through. Nice. All right, so that's pretty cool. I just created this interesting looking shape. So what do I want to do now? Well, now I want to cut a hole through it. So how are we going to cut a hole through? Well, I'm going to change my perspective because I want to cut a hole through this face. And what I want to do is I want to cut a hole right in the middle of the face, which might be necessary sometimes depending upon what you want to create, is to find the middle. Well, you'll notice, okay, let's say I want to cut a circular hole. It doesn't necessarily snap to the middle. There's nothing that's saying, oh, this is your right in the middle. So how can I find the middle? Well, here's a way. You can draw diagonals on the rectangle. And a diagonal is a line that goes from one vertex to the other vertex on a rectangle. So draw a diagonal here, and I draw a diagonal here. And then this point here, boom. Now it's snapping. That is the exact middle of your rectangle. So now I'm going to go create a circle. And then notice my dimensions are changing as I drag it. And I just want this to be 1 foot radius. So I do 1 and then foot, that apostrophe sign symbol. Cool. Now, if I just try to extrude this now, look at what's going to happen. It's going to select like individual parts, and I don't want that. So what should I do? Just delete the sides. Now, if I select and hold Shift, I can delete them all at once. But I don't really recommend doing that because sometimes you're going to make mistakes. So I just recommend deleting them all at once. Click, delete, click, delete, click, delete. And now look, I keep hitting this face by accident. I don't want to delete that. If you ever do something you don't want to do, just hit Command Z or Control Z, and it'll undo it. Okay? So then delete this line, delete this line, this line, and this line. I only put those there because I needed to find the middle. Now I want to cut a hole through. So the best way to do it is to select, and I don't want to extrude it, but I want to zoom down to the bottom and, oops, I want to zoom down to the bottom, and then you'll notice it's going to snap to this face. That's exactly what I want. I snap to that face, and there you go. Cool. Awesome. Let me do that again. I have my push-pull tool selected. I select the face. I rotate until I can see that it snaps to that face. If I go through, it's going to create a new solid. I want it to snap to the face. It says on face there. Cool. And then I can see I've created a hole all the way through, which is exactly what I wanted to do. All right, awesome. All right, so we're almost done, but we're not quite done yet. I'd also like to create some kind of shape here on this face. So I'm going to do a similar type of thing. I'm going to go from this endpoint. I selected my line tool, goes endpoint to the midpoint. And I'm going to go from this endpoint to this midpoint. And now it allowed me to get to the center right there. Now I want to show you something that's helpful. So let's go back to my rectangle tool. And I want to create a rectangle that's centered around this point. But wait a second. I don't want it to be like on that, have a vertex on the edge. I want it to have the rectangle at the center. The center of the rectangle is at that point. Well, how do I do that? That's the big question. Well, I just hit the button Option. So that's what it is on the Mac. I'm fairly certain it's the same on Chromebook. It might be different. If you guys see that it's not the same, then please don't even worry about it. Just create a rectangle here and I will work on that another time and let you know. But the point is when I hit Option, boom, it's now created a rectangle with a center at that point. And so I want to create a rectangle. Now, interestingly enough, it'll follow. You see how it's just following that line? Because it's expecting me to want to put a rectangle there. But I want to create a rectangle of my own dimensions. So I'm going to make it, let's make it 2 feet wide, comma, by 1 foot high. And there you go. Now again, I want to delete my unnecessary lines. I just created those to find the middle, but I don't want to keep them in my model because they'll mess things up. Once I've done that, I want to rotate again. And if you don't have a mouse, guys, you can always just click this tool and then rotate and then click out of the tool. So it's not like you can't do it. It's just harder if you don't have a mouse. Then I'm going to push pull this, and I'm going to pull it out 3 feet. Boom. Cool. Now I've got something pretty interesting. And I'm almost done, but I just want to show you one more thing. Okay. What I want to do now is I want to create a curve on the edge of this rectangle so I can have a nice curved edge. So how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to go to my curve tool, and I'm going to click this one here, a 2-point arc. And I'm going to wait until I get to the midpoint here, and then I'm going to go along, and you'll see that it actually gets to a point, it's blue, and then when I go into this edge, it's going to snap to a place that it says tangent to edge. I'll click, and then click again. Simple as that. All right, so let me show you that again. I start here. I get to the point where it's pink and it says tangent to edge. I click and click again. All right, and that'll lock that curve in. And then I do the same thing with the push-pull tool that I've done before. Get to that face. Boom. There you go. It's that simple. I can delete these lines now if I want because those are not serving me any purpose. And there you go. I've got a nice shape with some curved edges, a hole, extrusion, all sorts of practices and processes that we've gone through. Now, what is this actual object? I don't know. It could be just about anything. Use your imagination. But the point is that by being able to create this, you now have mastered, or at least have some experience in some of the different tools and how to use them. So what is your assignment? Your assignment is to actually go ahead and save this. Sorry, just checking my time there. Your assignment is to save this and download it and then submit it on my CCA. So you're going to go ahead and you can hit save. That's good. And you want to save your work every time on the app, just so you don't lose what you've done. And you can call this project 1. Cool. And if you want, you can add folders, but you're probably only going to be working on it in this class, so you don't really need that. So save here. Cool. Now you've saved this as project 1. Now this is just saved online, but what you want to do is actually export it. So what you want to do is you make sure you're in the right view. Okay. So if you're not in the right view, you want to go over here and click views and then hit this house on the bottom right. Okay, so I wasn't even in the right view. Once I'm there, I'm just going to go ahead and hit export as PNG. So PNG is just an image file, and I don't need to actually look at your SketchUp, all the different things. There's might be a time for that, but for now, all I need to see is just an image. So you're going to just go hit export PNG, and it's going to ask you dimensions. Cool, pick a scene. There are no scenes in this model, sure. There you go, good enough. You say export as PNG. Large images may take a little bit of time. Okay, don't show this again. Continue. You've exported it, and then if you can see that at the bottom of my screen, I now have this nice PNG file. And if I open that up, there it is. Okay, so once you've got that image file, you're going to go ahead. There's an assignment already on my CCA set up for this, and you will submit that image that you just downloaded for project 1 to that my CCA assignment. Okay, so with that being said, make sure you've watched the tutorial video and you've finished this video at this point. Answer all the questions on Edpuzzle, and check your my CCA to find the assignment. Once you've finished this object, export it as PNG. Make sure you've saved it first, export it as PNG, and then upload that PNG to MyCCA, the assignment on MyCCA. Okay, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for your great work already. With that being said, that's it for me for today. Until next time, enjoy engineering.